Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
The New York Jets 2025 draft class is complete. Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Saturday, April 26th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 531 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Of course, appreciate all of those tuning in on all the different audio podcast platforms. And day 3 of the NFL draft for the New York Jets has come and gone. And the first draft class under the new regime, Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, is officially in the books with 7 new players added to this roster. And today I want to break down all of day 3's action, which included 4 picks and 2 trades, along with kind of just an overall draft recap towards the end, as another draft here is officially in the book. So we'll dive right into it here on episode 531. Thank you to everyone who has tuned into all of the draft content, especially this weekend. Night 1, our reaction to the Armand Membu pick. Yesterday, our reaction to the New York Jets selecting Mason Taylor and Azare Thomas. And now today as well. I appreciate every single one of you. We'll have a ton of more content coming out the rest of this weekend and even into early next week, where you'll get a lot of UDFA signings and all of the usual draft fallout here over the next couple days. But today, the New York Jets got things started, right? You look at the first 2 days, you take Armand Membu, you take Mason Taylor, and you take AZ Thomas out of Florida State, a cornerback. So you go tackle, tight end, corner. You go into today looking at some needs, potentially still needing to add, right, a safety, needing to add some interior defensive line help, needing to add a wide receiver. I think that was the biggest start. Now, they didn't add interior defensive line help, but they did go the wide receiver route. And I think that's a lot of areas that New York Jet fans wanted them to go in with this first day 3 pick, round 4 pick 110, right? Last night, there was a lot of people, myself included, that wanted them to go wide receiver at 73. So it was expected to see them, after passing up on a wide receiver at 73, to go with a wide receiver here in round 4. And they did that. But completely honest, don't love the pick to start things out. And to be honest, just my opinion on day 3 as a whole, kind of a mixed bag. Didn't love it. Thought they could have addressed some different areas, and thought they honestly could have taken some different receivers here that I like better than Arian Smith. That's what they go with. Arian Smith, wide receiver out of Georgia. He's 6 foot, 179 pounds, senior. I just don't love it. I'm going to kind of tell you right away why, and I think most Jet fans would agree. It feels like a little bit of a reach, number 1. This feels like a guy that you probably could have gotten with your final pick in this draft. You probably could have even gotten 6th, 7th round. There's a chance this guy wouldn't even have gotten drafted when you hear some of the takes from some draft analysts out there. Maybe a guy that even could have slipped to undrafted free agency, that you take here in round number 4, a player that, you know, has a lot of experience in college, right? Played all 5 seasons at Georgia, but a guy that has dealt with some injuries and also just is not a very complete receiver compared to who is on the board, where you could have taken Jalen Royals. You could have taken an Alec I.E. Manor out of Stanford. You could have looked down that path as opposed to the path of Arian Smith. He's a speed demon, ran a 4.36 40-yard dash, which was top 5 in this class. A vertical threat, very athletic, dangerously good speed. a track, just track type speed, but has a lot of work to do. Lots of work to do. Not a very good route runner. He suffers a ton of drops. I'll get into some numbers here in a second. Not very good hands, which goes hand in hand with the drops. Struggles against press coverage. Not very good at getting separation. That kind of ties into him not being a great route runner. I just think at the time of this pick, you looked at some of the other options on the board, and to me, there was significantly better value picks, number one, but just overall better receivers that were available at this point. More complete receivers, guys that you feel like could help much quicker and could step in and play as just a more all-around receiver, right? We mentioned some of the names that were still available for this team that they passed up on with this Arian Smith pick. So I don't love it. I like the receiver, the fact that they went there. I just don't love the prospect. You look at some of the numbers last year. Was his best season, 48 receptions, 817 yards, 17 yards per reception, and 4 touchdowns. However, he had 10 drops. He had a 16.7% drop rate on targets that were deemed catchable. And he also had an overall drop rate of 17.2%, which is near the bottom percentile of college football. Not where you want to be. Career numbers, 47 games played, 68 catches, 1,356 yards, 19.9 yards per reception, and 10 touchdowns. This is a guy with speed. This is a guy that's going to be a vertical threat. But that's it. Has drop issues, doesn't have a very large route tree, just in terms of route crispness and route running in general, isn't very good with that either. He's got a lot of work to do. The Jets are buying a lot of stock in his upside to take a player like this in the 4th round. And the Jets already mentioned him, Muji and Glenn. Could this guy be maybe a Jameson Williams? That type of build where he is a vertical speed threat? You're asking a lot. Jameson Williams' college production was significantly better than where Arian Smith is right now. So I'll be honest, don't love this pick. Like the position group, don't love the pick overall. But look, prove me wrong. Go out there and put up productive numbers for this team and be a productive receiver, which this team desperately needs. But all in all, 57.1 receiving grade, 51.5 grade versus man coverage, just a 22.2% contested catch rate. Right, we mentioned the drop rate. This is also a guy that just doesn't do a whole lot well. You're banking a lot on the athletic upside, which is very risky in round number 4, when you could have taken a more complete player in my eyes. So that's the first pick of the day, Arian Smith out of Georgia. Now, moving on to the second pick of today's draft, the New York Jets actually made a trade here. So I'll throw up the trade details on the screen. The Jets made a deal with the Eagles. Jets go to pick 130. So they receive a 2025 4th round pick, 130. Eagles receive a 2025 5th round pick, 145, and a 2025 6th round pick, 207. And with this pick, the New York Jets go with a safety here in Malachi Moore out of Alabama. And this to me was a nice rebound pick just from a fan's perspective. Kind of disappointed in the Arian Smith pick. I think they bounce back. I think this is a really strong pick for the Jets. 5'11", 196-pound senior, 5 seasons in college football, all 5 spent at Alabama, and just a lot to like about him as a prospect. I believe I've mocked him. Maybe I haven't, but he has popped up in mock drafts even that I've done not on recording to the Jets. A player that has been talked about a little bit as a potential safety option, right? We've talked a lot about safeties and potential options there for the Jets. Malachi Moore, being one of those guys. You look at his numbers last year, 70 total tackles, 8 passes defended, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, 3 tackles for loss. His career numbers, 214 tackles, 25 passes defended, 2.5 sacks, 7 interceptions, 16 tackles for loss. He had a career high last year in tackles, and 8 passes defended were also a career high that also led all of Alabama last year. Lot to like with this player. Kind of, to me, feels like a very high floor type of player that can step in and catch up and produce at the NFL game pretty quickly, just because of his experience in college. He was a 4-year starter that started as a starter under Nick Saban, which is a big deal, right? 4-year starter, 3 of those coming under Nick Saban, very productive, high IQ player, very good production. You watch some of the tape and you see some good things, but you just look at some of the numbers as well. Like, he produced in a big way, right? We mentioned it last season, 8 passes defended, 70 tackles, good numbers for a guy who, for a safety. He also provides a lot of versatility, which is something that I think is really translates well to the NFL game. He not only can play safety, but he has also played slot a couple times as well. So a guy that has some safety experience can play in the slot. I think that's a positive that could translate to the NFL. The versatility, the high football IQ, the experience as a 4-year starter, and just his overall production, all things that you take away from his collegiate career as all really big positives. And is just, again, like a good, solid player, can do good things against the run, can do good things against in coverage. He had a 91.8 coverage grade, and then an 81 run defense grade. Overall, when you look at his overall career production, last season alone, 75.5 run defense grade, 89.4 coverage grade, just a 6.8% missed tackle rate, 23.3% forced incompletion rate. All of those amongst the top in percentile. Was actually top 30 in safeties last year in forced incompletions, with 7, of course, overall 8 passes defended. So does a lot of really good things, in my opinion, and just a very high floor guy, like the football IQ, the production, the experience, the versatility. Some of the weaknesses, not the longest lengthwise, and I'd also throw athleticism out there, not the most athletic player, which maybe is why he fell a bit. But to me, day 3, this team needs some safety help, even if they move Brandon Stevens over to safety, however they want to adjust that safety room. I really like this pick. It also feels like a guy that can fit the Aaron Glenn mold. Glenn actually called up Brian Branch about Malachi Moore because the two were teammates at Alabama. So that's an interesting connection there. Definitely feels like a Glenn guy and a high floor player to me. Football IQ, all that stuff. Ready to be a pro. Really like this pick for the Jets. Malachi Moore, safety out of Alabama. Moving on now. So that was your first trade. 2 more picks left. Round 5, pick 162. The New York Jets take Francisco Mauigoa, linebacker out of Miami. He is known, though, as Kiko Mauigoa, 6'2", 233 pounds, senior, 4 years in college football, 2 at Washington State and 2 at Miami. You look at his numbers last year, 96 tackles, 5 passes defended, 2 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, and 1 interception. His career numbers, 51 games played, spread across those 4 seasons, 255 tackles, 9 passes defended, 13 sacks, 3 picks, and 36 tackles for loss. This is a guy that can rack up tackles for loss. He had 18 in 2023, which is just a huge number. Is a guy that can clog running lanes, good instincts, and those are some of the strengths. Athletic, good instincts, especially against the run, does a really good job of clogging running lanes, getting into the backfield, meeting guys at the line of scrimmage, causing those tackles for loss, breaking up those running plays, clogging running lanes, does a really good job of that, recognizing that as a linebacker and dropping down and being able to make those plays. Provides some special teams value as well. And sideline to sideline coverage is something else that he provides. he's an intriguing prospect. My big question here, just with what he brings, just this pick in general, like to me, I would have preferred to go interior defensive line here, something like that, as opposed to linebacker. There was still some interior defensive linemen even left on the board when they picked again, when they actually traded back up. Get fatter. That's kind of been the phrase, get fatter. Get a big defensive lineman, some interior offensive line depth, whatever. I would have preferred that in this spot, even with their last pick. Even maybe going back to the well and taking another receiver late, you could have made the argument there. Not a bad prospect that can project, right? Quincy Williams is future's kind of murky, I guess, right? On his last year of his contract, you just paid Jamie and Sherwood. Are you going to pay two linebackers, $30 million? Probably not. Can Maui Noah be a guy that comes in, develops this year as a depth piece, and then you roll him out there next year and you have him and Sherwood? Maybe. It's a 5th round pick, so he has some holes. I would say at times he could take poor angles. Just when you look at some of the scouting reports and watch a bit of just some of, the clips that we've seen, that I've seen, that can sometimes pop up. But it's a 5th round linebacker. It's a depth piece. It's a guy that can come in, provide some special teams value, which Glenn actually noted. Last year as a whole, finished the season with a grade of 74.7, run defense grade of 84, which was a career high, and really where he makes his money, like really where he does his damage is in the run. Like I said, those 18 tackles for loss in 2023, had 11 more last year. His ability to drop down, clog running lanes, recognize, have instincts are some of the biggest positives to his game. So that was the move there, round 5, pick 162. To close things out here, the New York Jets make another trade. I'll throw this one up on the screen now. This one was with the Baltimore Ravens. Jets receive a 2025 5th round pick, of course, that being 176 overall. They also get a 2026 round pick. Ravens, on the other hand, receive the Jets pick of 186, moving back 10 spots, and they receive a 2026 5th. So swap picks this year in the 5th round, or actually Ravens bump into the 6th, Jets jump into the late 5th, and then next year Jets get their 6th, Ravens get their 5th. So improve around each one this year, one next year. And with this pick, round 5, pick 176, the New York Jets selected Tyler Barron, edge out of Miami, 6'5", 258 pounds, senior, 5 years in college football, 4 with Tennessee, and then spent his only season last year with Miami. Impressive season, productive season. 5.5 sacks, 38 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 10 quarterback hits, 28 quarterback hurries, 15.5% pressure rate, 18.7% pass rush win rate, 61 games played, 139 tackles, 19 sacks, and 39 tackles for loss in his career spread across those 5 seasons. I'll say this as well. Tyler Barron as a prospect, there is a lot of things to like. Physical, good size, height, and weight for an edge. Very good at bull rushes, athleticism. I just mentioned the pressure rate and the pass rush win rate. Showed a very high ability last year and really just over his career in general to get home to the quarterback and get home to the quarterback fast. He is athletic, has some speed off the edge. He can struggle a little bit with false starts. He's been plagued a bit with penalties at times, and he could develop more counters. I just think in this spot for me, I would have preferred, similar to round 5, I would have still preferred just to see the Jets come away today with interior defensive linemen. This was one of the strongest interior defensive line classes that we've seen in a very long time, and you don't come away with one of them. That, to me, was a little questionable. But, look, you look at this edge room, and you have Jermaine Johnson. You have Will McDonald. Jermaine Johnson, it could take him a bit to ramp up, right? Coming off the torn Achilles. Will McDonald, you hope, can continue to produce like he did last year. So you add another edge depth here. hopefully a guy that bumps Clemens out right at this point. Kind of a funny connection, right? The Jets select Mason Taylor. Tyler Barron, Jason Taylor is the defensive end coach at Miami, actually coached him last year. So kind of an interesting connection there. But edge depth, a guy that can get home to the quarterback. Like I said, the bull rush is good size, physical, kind of fits what Aaron Glenn wants. A lot of these guys today, like the linebacker, edge, even the safety and Malachi Moore, fit what Glenn wants. Physical, just that nasty mentality. He talked about Membu being that way. And when you see some of these guys as well pop up on the defensive side of the football, you could tell these are guys that Glenn really, really liked. And to me, what the Jets did today, as kind of just a final wrap up on thoughts on day number 3, to me, what the Jets did today was they banked a lot on this. Because to be honest, I really liked the first part of this draft. Being 100% transparent, I really liked what the New York Jets did on the first 2 days. Membu, Mason Taylor, Azare Thomas, to me, was a good start. I didn't love the Thomas pick at first, would have preferred a wide receiver, but Thomas as a prospect, I like a lot. And I think there is a lot of intrigue to fit in next to Sauce Gardner as those press man coverage corners that fit exactly the defensive scheme that this team is going to run with a lot of man. So I liked what they did. Going into today, I would have just liked to seen take a couple more guys that, in my opinion, are just, I guess, a little bit more, I don't know, filled out in a way in terms of like higher floors. Not really. I think the Jets today banked a lot on guys that have a lot of potential, but you're going to need to rely heavily on the coaching. And I also think just with the way the Jets roster is right now, you look at the interior defensive line, you're going to need coaching big time to step up. And I think today, Arian Smith, this is a guy that very athletic, but doesn't really do anything else well as a receiver. So this coaching staff has got a lot of work to do with him. And I would even say the same thing, too, with Kiko Maui Noah and Tyler Barron. Two guys that are depth pieces. Coaching's got a lot of work to do. Malachi Moore, I think, is a guy that can step in. Coaching, of course, matters. Just would have liked to seen the Jets take a better receiver, in my opinion, take an interior defensive lineman, and guys that a little bit higher on the draft boards, as opposed to some of these other players that just felt like maybe were reaches, maybe were guys that they love, feel they see something in them. I think that was kind of the approach. That's what felt like the approach today. Not so much best player available, more so this is a guy we really like. We see something in him. We believe in our coaching staff. And you kind of roll with it. And then look, sometimes that's what day 3 is all about, right? It's finding guys not necessarily at huge holes or huge positions of needs. Sometimes it's just finding guys that you like as prospects, and maybe not many other teams value them, but you do. And that's where you can try and find your hidden gems. So we'll see. I think you come away with this draft, though, from the Jets as a whole, and I might do a whole draft recap tomorrow or sometime like that, really breaking it down and just looking at where this Jets roster stands right now. But I think when you look at this team, there still needs to be some help at wide receiver. I would be totally on board at this point in just signing a veteran, somebody like a Keenan Allen, more of a bigger track record level veteran, not having just Josh Reynolds and Alan Lazard there, right? Getting another body in here that's better than what we have behind Garrett Wilson. This is a team that potentially finds some UDFA interior defensive line help, but interior defensive line wise, just next to Quinnen, you got Byron Coart. You brought in Derek Nottie, who could do some good things against the run, but provides little to nothing against the pass. Leonard Taylor, can he take another step? We'll see. So that's the Jets draft. I would say I really like the first 3 picks in Malachi Moore. Other than that, I like Tyler Barron, but other than that, I think Arian Smith, they could have went in a different direction. And I would say instead of taking a linebacker, you could have taken one of these interior defensive linemen in this class that was still available on day 3 because it's a very deep class. So I'll say overall, you look at this draft. Of course, we're never going to really know what it is until next year after. But I think it started strong. Late, maybe some questionable picks. But that's your first draft class for Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you like what Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn did this weekend? 7 total picks. Armand Membu, Mason Taylor, Azare Thomas, Arian Smith, Malachi Moore. I keep wanting to say Malachi Corley. Malachi Moore, Kiko Mauinoa, Tyler Barron. Those are your 7 selections. What are your thoughts on the Jets draft? We'll be back in the coming days here with a lot more draft fallout content. Break down this class. Of course, all the UDFA signings as well. You'll have rookie minicamp soon. So a lot coming up. Busy time here. Let me know what you guys think. Again, appreciate all of your support over these last 3 days. Draft coverage is always an amazing success around here. So appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Until next time, JETS, 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 Jets.